it helps the ego somehow. If ego imagines a painting and then is able to do it the way it looks in the mind, then there's a certain satisfaction. Okay, I was able to do it as I planned, but usually the results are of low quality. But if I dare to do something which I've never done before, and I just stay present in the flow of the moment, then things can happen which are surprising to myself. And then it gets very interesting, you know, and then it has a certain juice to it and a certain adventure. Yeah. When I was a small kid, we had a sofa at home, and on top of it was hanging a landscape which my father had painted. And I liked to lie on the sofa and go for walks with my eyes in the landscape. So this is one very important impression, I think, which has formed somehow my approach towards painting. My father was an abstract painter, so this was always there, somehow. But when I decided to become an artist, I was influenced by surrealism, and surrealism was a kind of an exploration. It was a vehicle or a means or a path to find out things about myself or my psyche by using the surrealistic approach. These people were trying to bring about a higher reality, a reality composed of conscious mind and subconscious mind. And they were hoping if they could get these two together, they will come to a new wholeness or new unity. That was the basic project of surrealism. And it had the advantage for me as a young man that it was possible to explore things, to find out about myself. And then suddenly a new topic came up, and that was the mandala. One could talk for hours about the symbolism of the mandala because it has many aspects. But one thing certainly is that a mandala, if you relate to a mandala, it can help you to come to a certain centering of your energy so that you're always centered, because each mandala has a center. Now, after I did this for some years, I felt like the energy wanted to move. And then I came back to abstract forms, you know, without any structure. Neither surrealistic structure nor mandala structure, but just a free flow of my own impulses. Yeah. And these impulses were partly visual imagination and partly just letting the hand move as the hand wants to move, and often accompanied by listening to music also. So some of these drawings also have sort of a rhythmic or musical structure.
What kind of music inspired you most?
Jazz.
Jazz?
Jazz, yes, because it is improvised.
Any particular artists?
Yes, Keith Jarrett is one of my favorites, and then Pat Metheny, but I also like all different types of music as well. Yeah, there are many others, but if I had to choose, which I'm happy that I do not have to, I would choose jazz. Yeah. Now these 4 paintings are all done in the same way. except for the third one, I will explain. These paintings are done in many layers, so they have a certain transparency and softness and subtlety to them, which comes about by putting very thin layers of color on top of each other. And whenever one has put a layer of color, one puts also again some white in between and puts some more color on top again. Now usually all of these layers are put together in the end in such a way that you do not differentiate really between the different layers. The surface will be perfect, or the process will come to a certain end. And that's what they did traditionally with this type of technique. And what I did is I made the different stages visible. For example, this piece here would have been considered in traditional painting just a mere underpainting. This is not the real painting. This is only like a drawing made with white brush drawing on brown layers of color. And usually in the end something like that would result, where you have colors on top. But I like this stage, this preparational stage, so much that I thought, it's interesting enough to look at it that way. Which of course is a more modern approach to painting, where one sometimes makes visible what is happening during the process. Yeah. I don't try to make any statement. I'm not trying to do political art or social art or anything alike. Even to say I'm doing spiritual art would not be quite exact. I would like my art to be there as a value in itself. It shouldn't be there serving anything else. If we can leave things as they are and discover their value as they are, and we don't put any concept on top of them, then they're left in their natural state. And there's a certain basic feeling of being at home. If things can be just as they are and we leave them as they are, everything somehow is fine. So what I hope sometimes is that my paintings can be some kind of a refuge for the mind or your consciousness, a place you can go to and feel at home and rest. You know, you can just be there. Whenever I am on a plane, I like to look down from up above. So this was inspired by seeing landscapes from the airplane or looking at satellite photos. And I love all these flowing structures, and one can find them in all sizes. I mean, it's a it would be difficult for me to define the laws by which I would say, okay, this is definitely some kind of a landscape, or this has a natural structure, but you might get the feel of it. So these are all drawings done with colored ink, and some of them are just made only in one layer, like this one for example, and this one. And then there are others which are done in several layers, where we have in the background a collage, for example, here. Or here we have a colored tissue, a paper tissue with colored dots on it. And this has been scanned and printed out, and then a black and white drawing was printed on that, and then this was done with colored pencils, these specific color fields here. So one of my favorite ideas is, which comes back again and again, is that reality is structured as a multi-layer phenomenon. Whenever we perceive something, it is not just a flat entity which we can grasp by a simple concept, but I have the impression that always several things are going on at the same time. One basic thing about astrology is the fact that we have a continuous flow of time quality. Quality of time is not a category which is used in science, but astrologers observe that there's permanently a quality to time, and it has shifts and transformations and changes and so on. I came to the idea, if I could just be still and open and then move my hand spontaneously, the drawing will reflect the quality of time of that very moment. Yeah? So I started to look at myself as a medium, as a drawer, as a painter, as an artist, a medium of time quality. And I would just try to be empty, open, and then just improvise. Whatever comes through, comes through. And then later, when I had a computer with a very good astrology program, I can even monitor this, like do the drawing and then have a look at the computer at the actual constellations of the moment and see, there I was very impulsive, and there is the Mars in a very prominent position. So actually there is a connection between these two things. But I started to trust. I start with trusting first. I don't wait and looking at the chart for a specific moment to start a painting or a drawing, but I just start whenever I feel like. And then later I see, this is being reflected in the constellations. Yeah, yeah. So there's a continuous flow, which I think also plays a great role in my perception. I was taught on a seminar with Ernst Fuchs, who is one of the great artists who brought fantastic realism into the world, and he is very perfect as far as the craftsmanship is concerned and so on. I was oriented onto that for many, many years, a certain attitude. Then one day I became aware that I was doing many, I mean not only thousands but millions of lines on my drawings. In Germany we say Schraffuren. Schraffuren means you put many lines in the same direction besides each other to give a drawing a certain shade or whatever. Yeah. And suddenly it was like a flash coming to my mind that all these little lines are like slaves, and they are forced to bring about a certain effect in the painting. They did not exist as a reality which has its own right to be there, but they had to serve. And I became aware that I was forcing myself to do all these lines like millions of little slaves, forcing them to do a certain thing in the painting, you know? So then I changed this view, and and I allowed my hand to become more free, to come to a point where each single brush stroke or each single line has this emancipatory power or creative power or individual power by itself. So at that time these lines started to dance. Yeah. Before that they were like marching in rows like soldiers. So, and the effect onto myself was, of course, that now the whole thing was much more joyous. It was much more fun, you know, to allow these things to become alive and alive and alive and alive, instead of sitting there thinking, okay, I will have to draw like some thousand lines more, and then what I wanted to say will be there, you know. So I was trying to be more direct. Now. Yeah. So, and then the painting became more alive. In former times, in earlier times, I was this being oriented on details had something to do with a kind of compulsive striving for perfection. And it took me some time to understand that perfection is not the same as brilliance or richness. So today I'm less compulsive, and I trust more into the flow of my hand, what the hand does naturally, and I'm not torturing myself so much to be as precise as possible. So things have loosened up a little bit, and it's more in a flow, but I still enjoy if something that I look at, if I can see all the subtle details. If I dare to do something which I've never done before, and I just stay present in the flow of the moment, then things can happen which are surprising to myself, and then it gets very interesting.